I've known Nina Carter for as long as I can remember. We were born and raised in the same apartment building, lived in the same stairwell. She was on the third floor, I was on the fourth. We were similar, both of us from modest families. We shared many interests, both as kids and as teenagers. There was never anything romantic between us. We were just friends growing up, and the memory of that friendship stayed with me forever. I was never as spiritually close to any neighbor as I was to Nina. She wasn't lucky in life. She lost both of her parents far too early. Her mother and father died in a car crash on the same day. I supported her as best I could, tried to show her that she wasn't alone, that she always had someone nearby she could rely on. A year later, Nina got married and brought her husband into her apartment. His name was Ethan Walker. He seemed like a normal guy to me, and from then on I felt calmer for her. She wasn't alone anymore. As for me, I never got married. All of that always seemed like some kind of pointless game. I was in love with my work. Nina used to say I was asexual. I don't even know what that means, and I don't care to think about it. People called me all sorts of things because of my indifference toward marriage. Let them play those games. I didn't want to. Nina, for example, looked happy in her marriage, at least until her husband got sick. He worked a lot to earn a promotion, achieved it, became a director, but completely neglected his health. He ended up in the hospital. The diagnosis was terrible, the prognosis not very hopeful. Still, he was discharged, and now he lay at home. Nina took care of him and was visibly nervous. Every time I saw her, I asked how Ethan was doing. "Not great," she would say, or "We're looking for treatment options." I kept thinking, could it really be that bad? God forbid she'd end up alone again. She had already suffered so much from losing loved ones. Why did this have to happen to her again? It hurt to see how broken she looked. I'm not religious, but I prayed for her in my thoughts. One day, I met her in the courtyard. She seemed cheerful, carrying bags full of groceries, humming something under her breath. I hadn't seen her smile in a long time. "Hey, Nina, you're in a good mood," I said. "No point being gloomy," she replied energetically. "How's Ethan?" I asked eagerly. She lowered her gaze and smiled faintly. "The worst is behind us. He went through the illness. Now we can just be together." "So he's getting better?" I clarified. "The illness doesn't bother him anymore," she answered vaguely. A strange suspicion crept into my mind, but I pushed it away. I thought she wouldn't hide anything from me. A couple of days later, a strange smell appeared in the building. The moment you stepped out your door, you could feel it. A sweet, nauseating odor. Faint, but impossible to ignore. I kept seeing Nina. Nothing in her behavior changed except she wasn't as gloomy anymore, as if she had accepted her role as a caretaker. She went to work, carried groceries home, talked about taking care of Ethan, about cherishing every moment with him. Meanwhile, the smell grew stronger, especially when I passed her apartment. I thought, could really illness smell that bad? A few days later, a green fly landed on my hand. I brushed it away and only then noticed the constant buzzing in the building. There were many flies now, swarming. I remembered, those green ones are called flesh flies. Soon, the stench became unbearable. Flies crawled everywhere, on the walls, on doors. The neighbors didn't understand what was going on. They thought maybe a sewage pipe had burst in the basement and called maintenance. Only I had a suspicion. Nina had to explain everything. I waited for her one evening after work, met her at the entrance. "Nina, tell me honestly, what's going on with Ethan?" She looked surprised. "Nothing. He's at home. I'm taking care of him. What could be wrong?" I gathered my courage. "There are flies in the building. That smell, it's the smell of a corpse. The others don't realize it yet, but I know it's coming from your apartment.
Please, tell me what's happening. We're friends." She looked me straight in the eyes. "I understand what you're implying, but it's not like that. Not exactly. I would tell you everything, but I was afraid you wouldn't understand. You need to feel it, to really understand. Others wouldn't, but you're close to me. If you try, you will understand. Promise me you'll try." "I promise," she said. "Put your hand on your heart. Then come with me." She entered the building. I followed. She went up to her floor, opened the apartment. The stench hit me so hard it hurt to swallow. The hallway buzzed with flies. As soon as I stepped inside, she locked the door behind me. "Ethan, we have a guest. Andrew came to visit you." No answer. She walked into the room. "Ethan, do you want anything? I'll make coffee." Still silence. I covered my nose and approached the room. I almost threw up. On the bed lay a blackened, bloated corpse. On the nightstand, cups and plates with food. Flies swarmed over everything. Nina had lost her mind. She was taking care of a corpse, trying to feed it. "Oh, God!" I ran out of the room. She rushed after me. "Andrew, I knew you would react like this. Wait." "What did you expect? He's dead. He needs to be buried." "You don't understand," she said, grabbing my hand. "Ethan didn't die, not completely. He went through death and stayed with me. He promised. When he was sick, I cried, and he said no matter what happens, he wouldn't leave me. He kept his promise. He's still here." I pulled away. "You're insane. They bury people to send them off, but Ethan didn't leave. You can't bury him if his soul is still here. Yes, there's a smell, but that's temporary. It will change." I couldn't listen anymore. I unlocked the door and ran upstairs. She shouted after me, "But Andrew, you promised to understand. Don't tell anyone." I called the police and an ambulance immediately. They arrived quickly. Nina refused to open the door for a long time. Eventually, half the building gathered in the hall. I was there when the paramedics dragged her out. She cried, trying to explain. "You don't understand. He stayed for me. I have to take care of him." Then she looked at me like a whip strike. "Andrew, how could you?" I lowered my eyes. I told myself it was for her own good. The body was removed. The apartment was sanitized. For days, I was in shock. But, as they say, out of sight, out of mind. I convinced myself everything had happened as it should. The dead had been buried. My friend was getting treatment. I just hoped she would recover. One evening, returning home, I noticed her apartment door slightly open. A bad feeling crept over me. That night, I heard a door slam in the building, then shuffling, slow footsteps. A knock on my door. "Who's there?" I asked. "Andy. Sorry it's late. My wife hasn't stopped by, has she?" My body turned to ice. It was Ethan's voice. It was unmistakable. "Who is this?" I whispered. "It's me, Ethan. I can't find Nina. She's been gone for days. You don't know where she is?" I didn't have the courage to look through the peephole. "No, I don't know," I lied. "Sorry, man. I'm just worried about her." His footsteps slowly faded. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, my upstairs neighbor approached me. "Hey, did you hear anything strange last night?" He hesitated. "Someone knocked on my door, asked about Nina. Sounded like Ethan. I felt myself going pale. "I told him she was taken to a clinic," he added. Since then, I couldn't stop thinking. If Ethan was going around asking for his wife, sooner or later someone would tell him it was me who called. That night, he came again. "Andy, it's me, Ethan." This time there was anger in his voice. "You got something to tell me?" I stammered. "You were rotting on the bed. What was I supposed to do?" He chuckled coldly. "So you did the right thing, huh?" Silence. Then, "How's Nina in the psych ward? You visit her? Call her?" I said nothing. "Open the door. Let's talk like men." I ran to my bedroom and hid under the blanket. My hands shook uncontrollably. The next morning, I saw him, standing at Nina's door, bloated, decomposed, watching me with lifeless eyes. Waiting. After that, I bought holy water, poured it over my door. It didn't help. That night, he stood in my room. "You separated us," he whispered. "Even death couldn't, but you did." "Forgive me," I begged. "Bring back my wife." He lunged at me. Cold hands closed around my throat. I woke up screaming. The next morning, I went straight to the psychiatric hospital.
The visiting hours at the psychiatric hospital started at 10 in the morning, but I was already there at 8, wearing out the floor in the hallway, asking again and again to see Nina. Eventually, they allowed me to see her. I must have looked like a madman myself. Even my longtime friend looked better than I did. She was pale, her hair disheveled, but at least she wasn't twitching like me. As soon as we met in the visiting room, I began apologizing. "Mina, please forgive me. I shouldn't have done it that way. I'm sorry I didn't visit you. Now I believe you. Ethan comes to me at night. I don't know what to do." To my relief, she wasn't angry. She hugged me and said she was glad to finally see me. "You weren't completely wrong," she said quietly. "I really did lose my mind for a while. It wasn't right to leave Ethan like that on the bed, but he was talking to me the whole time, calming me so I wouldn't fall apart." She paused for a moment, then added, "I don't know when they'll let me out. That depends on the doctors. And what should I do? Ethan is ready to strangle me because of you." Nina thought for a minute, then answered, "You need to take care of him while I'm gone." "What do you mean, take care of him?" "I don't know. Go into the apartment, visit him, make dinner, coffee. He likes coffee." "Why would he need that? He's dead." "And why do people put a glass of vodka and bread next to the photograph of the deceased? Why do they bring candy to the cemetery? When the dead come into the world of the living, they probably need to eat." She looked at me seriously. "Ethan stayed here, and right now he's probably wandering around hungry. I don't know. Just do what I'm telling you. I'll come back sooner or later. Until then, take care of him." It was terrifying to enter the apartment the first time. I thought the dead man would attack me, grab me by the throat, but nothing happened. I went into the kitchen, made coffee in a small pot, carried the cup into the bedroom, placed it next to the empty bed, and left. That night, no one came to me. The next day, I returned. I removed the cold cup of coffee, went back to the kitchen, and cooked chicken soup. I'm not good at cooking. I did it the best I could. "Ethan, this is for you. Don't be angry with me. I didn't know," I said, placing the plate near the bed. "Nina will come back. For now, she asked me to take care of you." The apartment was empty. No one answered me. But when I was leaving and locking the door, I thought I heard a quiet voice from the room. "Thank you." From then on, I went to Nina's apartment every day. Sometimes I made coffee, sometimes I cooked something,
I talked to him. Well, I just spoke out loud, really. He no longer showed himself, didn't speak again, but I knew he was somewhere nearby, listening. One day, as I was leaving the apartment, I ran into my upstairs neighbor. It came out awkwardly. I was locking the door and said out loud, "Goodbye, Ethan. I'll visit you tomorrow." The neighbor heard everything. He looked at me strangely and asked why I kept going in there. I told him I was just watching the apartment while Nina was away. He didn't seem convinced. After that, everything stopped. No footsteps, no knocking, no voices. Everything became normal again. I stopped scratching myself nervously, stopped pulling out my hair, but I still kept going to the apartment once a day. Everything was fine. Until someone interfered. I was standing in Nina's kitchen when I suddenly heard noise in the hallway. The door opened. Police officers entered the apartment, along with paramedics, and with them, my neighbor. "Citizen, can you explain what you're doing here?" one of the officers asked. "You'd better take a look in there," my neighbor shouted from the room. "Then you'll understand everything." The officers went inside. On the nightstand were cups of coffee and a plate of yesterday's soup. I hadn't cleaned up in time. What would they think now? "You see," my neighbor said, "he comes here every day. He was close with that crazy woman. And recently, someone was walking around at night, knocking on doors, pretending to be the dead Ethan. I think it was Andrew. There's something wrong with him after what happened. We don't need another lunatic in this building." "What are you talking about?" I snapped. "I'll explain everything." A strong hand landed on my shoulder. One of the paramedics grabbed me. "Wait, you don't understand," I shouted. "Nina asked me to take care of him, otherwise it will all start again." Two of them twisted my arms behind my back and dragged me into the hallway. As they pulled me away, I shot an angry look at my neighbor. It was his fault.
He looked away.